topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Atlanta. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the top experts in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Today's show is brought to you by personal injury attorney Todd Hensington, considered one of the top personal injury attorneys in the Atlanta area. And I mean, we shopped the entire Atlanta area because there's so many good personal injury attorneys. And we came up with attorney Todd Hensington, an incredible personal injury attorney. His phone number is 404-835-4935. In the second half of our show, we have the guru in weight loss, one of the finest MDs in Atlanta, Dr. Eldred Taylor with Taylor Medical Group. And they specialize in wellness and aesthetic therapies, weight loss. He'll be with us in the second half hour of the show. We are waiting right now for attorney Todd. He is here with us. I'm telling you, he's one of the finest personal injury attorneys. So you don't have to worry about an ad on a bus or, a TV ad. Some of these ads get really crazy. So we are really blessed to have Todd. Let me welcome you now to attorney Todd Hensington.
Hey.
Hi, Todd.
Hey, how you doing, Steve-O?
Good to see you, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I was looking forward to the show. Sorry, I was running a little late.
It's okay. You're here. That's all I'm happy about. And today is the first day that we are broadcasting throughout Georgia. I was shocked how many people in other areas of Georgia are listening or watching the show. And this is our first day. Todd, I got to tell you, I had a letter about 3 weeks ago from somebody who found our show by mistake, who was in an auto accident that you actually represented. And
I hope I did a good job.
Oh, well, you did, because he spoke so highly of you. And he said, you always wonder about these expert shows, if they're really an expert. But he said, I just wanted to tell you that Todd represented me and did such a great job. And I thought that was amazing.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. We didn't, this is going to be all ad-libbed right here today. I had a homework project for you that you had for me that I was supposed to get to you. And I never got it to you. So what I was going to say is let's talk a little bit about how this personal injury process plays out. My parents were recently injured in a car wreck. And, I've been practicing law for 22 years. I thought that by osmosis in some way that they would have understood what I do a little bit better. They had,
right, exactly.
But they had so many questions that are common questions that people have when they're involved in an incident. And so it wasn't their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. They got hit head on. My mother had to have a reverse shoulder replacement, which is terrible.
Ooh.
She's 81 years old. It's a terrible situation for her. And we're working through all of that. But the questions that they had were, what's the case worth? How long is this going to take? You know, who do we sue anybody? Do we need to file a lawsuit now, right now? All those things. There are people out on the internet right now that are saying, give me 15 seconds, fill out a form, and I'll tell you your case value. That is not true. Okay. I want to call it something stronger than that, but it's simply not true. 15 seconds can't evaluate a case. The first phone call that we have with you, depending upon where your case is in where it's going at that point, I can't give you a value on the case, because case value is determined upon three things. One, who's at fault. Two, right? What are the injuries? And three, how much insurance coverage there is. Okay. Now, so what you have to do in a case like for personal injury, one, who's at fault? That's your first rule. So we want to document the scene. We want to get the accident report. We want to get videotape. I mean, I've had a lot of success going to, for example, like a gas station on a corner, and we'll send our investigator out to get the videotape evidence and show what's happening in that situation. So that's the first aspect of it, right? Second, what are your injuries? Well, if you're calling within a week or two from the wreck, I don't know what your injuries are. We don't know. It's too early to find out. Have you been to the emergency room? Did you have a CT scan? Did you have an MRI? What happened to you during that point in time? Where are you headed next? Is it physical therapy? Is it a neurosurgeon? Is it a neurologist? Is it all of those things? 15 seconds, you cannot figure out the value of a case. Now, I can tell you an idea. You know, if you say, look, I was hit, I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. I have uninsured motorist coverage and this amount and all this. Okay, yeah, it looks like we're looking at something that's probably a limits case, if you will. We're going to get the full amount of the limits. But I just want, there's a lot of misinformation out there, especially in the personal injury field. And I want people to understand that you just got to pick up the phone and call us, and we'll give you the information. I am not here to hide information from you. I've actually had other attorneys say to me, yeah, I think you give too much information. They could do it by themselves. You can't do it by yourself and do it effectively. I can give you the information. It's like me teaching you how to do surgery. You're not going to do it yourself. It's like me just saying, here's how you ride a bike. You're not going to do it yourself. You need help. Anything like that. So there are traps for the unwary. There are situations that can arise depending upon if you are involved with like a municipality or a county or the federal government. There can be shorter time limitations. Medical malpractice has got situations in which you have to get an affidavit from another individual in the same field stating that there was malpractice. That doesn't mean negligence. It means malpractice. Different. Violation of the standard of care. So there's all sorts of traps for the unwary out there. What you need to do, if you are a consumer out there that's been injured, or you have a friend or a family member or somebody else that's been injured that you know, get the information that you need. Give us a call. We will give you the information, and we will tell you if we can add value to your case. I'm not getting involved in any case in which I can't add value. That is not what I want to do. I don't want you saying to me later, man, I got you involved and I got less money. No, that's not what we're going to do. What we are going to do is make sure that you are getting more money for our services than we're getting paid. And I've had situations in which people have called me and I've said, look, I can't get you more money. Like, your offer's pretty good. You did a good job, but I'm not going to be able to get more money. And we work on a contingency fee basis. No fee unless we make a recovery, and the consultation is free. So what we want to do is just you to give us a call. If you've been injured, you think it's through no fault of your own, give us a call. Even,
Todd, sometimes people's injuries don't show up for 3 or 4 days. So maybe you might not be feeling pain that day of the accident, but that doesn't mean you're free of any type of injury.
So I tried a case a number of years ago, and the issue in the case was there was somewhat of what we would call a slight delay in treatment. It was about 4 days, like you were saying. And in what we call the veneer, which is the group for the jury, there was a nurse, and I wanted that nurse on there because I knew that that nurse would understand that sometimes that injury doesn't show up for a few days. And if you're like most people, you don't want to go to a doctor. You don't want to incur the expense. You don't want to deal with it. You just, the hassle. So you say, well, it'll go away. It'll go away. It'll go away. And it doesn't. And then 3 or 4 days later, you're going to a doctor and it can become something significant. So we can explain some gaps in treatment. Now, you wait a month, we may have an issue. But a few days, it's just like if you lift weights or whatever, you know, if you exercise, you can have second day soreness, third day soreness. And if it's a, I hate to use the word whiplash, but if it's a subluxation type of injury to your neck or spine, you may go, ow, that hurts. And then next day it may hurt a little bit more. And then the next day after that, it hurts even worse. Then it's time to go. But we can't do anything as personal injury attorneys unless you get treatment. Treatment is the script for what your case is. So, you know, if it's not in the medical records, it doesn't exist to an insurance company, and it sure as heck won't exist to a juror, right? To 12 people sitting on a jury deciding what your case is. So you want to make sure you don't want to complain, but you don't want to suffer in silence. So there is a delicate balance between those two ways, but you want to make sure it's being documented.
You know, Todd, I got to tell you something that is really important, because my son went through an auto accident and he considers himself a salesman. He's a negotiator. I mean, he can sell anything. So what he did was, to save money in his mind, he tried to take it on himself instead of hiring an attorney, which is amazing, because you don't ask for any money down. I mean, and you only get paid on your basically how much money you get them. And he will tell you to today, it was the dumbest mistake he ever made, that he knows now that he left money on the table by not hiring an attorney.
Yeah, let me expound upon that a little bit. Let me say what some issues that could be. First, you say, oh my gosh, this attorney is taking a third of what I get, right? But what we've shown is that we are getting 3, 4, 5 times the amount of money you would have gotten, okay? So we're making up for that. The issue that people don't get is you can accept a settlement. You say, yes, sign on the dotted line, you're good to go. And what can happen is the health insurance company, Medicare, Medicaid, health insurance, if that's involved, can just take that money, boop, gone. You settled it for $20,000, and they say you owe us $20,000, and so you just settled for zero. How you don't know whether or not somebody else has it right. And I had that situation with a client. They called up and they said they're offering me $5,000. I said, let me just bring in what you have. Said the case is worth the policy limits, which in Georgia is $25,000. Had she accepted the $5,000, she would have gotten zero. Her health insurance would have taken it because they had a right to be paid back. That's called subrogation. So you have to be very careful. There is what the offer is, and then what people are going to take from you. All right. And it's really, really important to understand that aspect of it. I had a client as well who came in, and he was very proud of himself because he settled his case for, this was years ago. This has got to be 17 years ago. I think he had 35 staples in his head. And he said, I got $10,000. And he was very proud. The case was worth 6 figures. You know, so you just don't know what you don't know. And I say this all the time. You can't do it. Like, could I build a house? Yeah, but it would suck. It would be a terrible house. It'd probably have a leaky roof. It would just not be good. So you go to experts. I have an attorney for taxes. I have an attorney for a will. I have an attorney. Hopefully I don't need one for a divorce. All right. I don't need that. Right. Right. So these, but experts go to experts, and that's what we do. So you need to get somebody involved in a case to at least guide you. I will tell you if I can't help you. I 100%. I will say, look, I can't help you on this because you're in a good position. The case is worth X kind of thing. That's where I'd look. Call me if you have any issues.
We just got our first text from outside of Atlanta. This is Greg in Athens. Wants to know, do you handle slip and fall cases in the Athens area?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Well, that was the whole purpose, because we had been getting emails from people in other cities, even though we really target the Atlanta area. And we've now opened it up now to the entire state. So I'm glad we're doing that. You can handle auto accidents, slip and falls, dog bites in other cities outside of Atlanta.
Yes, we actually have an office in McDonough as well, which is south of Atlanta, south of the airport. So we have an office location there. So we, we'll be in Macon and, Athens, go Dogs. Got it. I was Wake Forest grad. So I'm neutral in this situation, but yes, slip and falls. As a matter of fact, I had a case years ago, and it's actually probably sitting right there. One of the top Georgia verdicts is we were offered $15,000 in a slip and fall, and we got $400,000 in front of the Fulton County jury.
Why such a big difference, Todd?
So here's something that's interesting. All right, so Governor Kemp is talking about tort reform, and I'm going to tell you this big difference. And what he uses as examples are nuclear verdicts, and some other messaging that's coming across is, hey, insurance premiums are going up. Insurance premiums are going up because insurance companies are greedy, not because trial lawyers are more greedy. Okay. Without insurance companies, I don't exist. Without us, insurance companies don't exist. We have a State Farm Arena downtown, right, in Atlanta. You know who Flo is. You know who the Gecko is. You know who Mayhem is. And there this argument that in some way that you can't buy insurance in Georgia because we need tort reform. That's what Governor Kemp is saying. It is so erroneous. We need the money for the victims of the state of Georgia, the people that have been injured in this state, to pay the medical providers who have provided them medical treatment in this state, not something to go back to Illinois. So that is not helping the citizens of this state. And a governor should be devoted to helping the citizens of this state. So tort reform is wrong-minded. It's easy to blame the lawyers. It's easy to blame the lawyers. Oh, the insurance premiums are going up. Insurance carriers say it's the lawyer's fault. So one of the ways that they do this is they say it's nuclear verdicts. You hear this $20 million verdict. You hear this $15 million verdict. In every single case they've cited to, there was an offer that was minuscule. And the plaintiff's attorney told them, just pay us a little bit more, double the offer, maybe even triple it. But this is misguided, miscalculated risk assumptions made by insurance carriers and defense attorneys for the insurance carriers. They thought, oh, well, they're never going to get more than $4,000 or $4 million. Then they get hit with $22 million and they go, oh, it's out of control juries. No, you failed to assess the risk properly. And so then they cry and they go to the state legislature and they say, well, we got to change this. We can't have these nuclear verdicts. It's putting everybody out of business. It's not putting anybody out of business. I challenge one legislator in the state of Georgia to tell me who's been put out of business through a lawsuit. None. I challenge them. Because we're talking about insurance money. That's what people don't understand. Insurance companies are worth billions and billions of dollars.
Right. Exactly.
Billions and billions of dollars. And they
don't need to feel sorry for it.
They'll henpeck you over $20. They'll make an offer of $14,782. Well, okay, can we do $14,800? I mean, where's the 82? What algorithm are you looking at? What are you doing? They're worth billions of dollars. Now, I understand they have to save money, but they have to be fair. What they're doing now is they're saying we are not going to pay for the reasonable and necessary medical treatment. What they are doing is writing it down to Medicare reimbursement rates. Okay, so they say a $10,000 bill is now a $2,000 bill, and we're going to pay you based upon that. That's where the negotiations are coming into. So that's why they're making all of these low offers. And Medicare reimbursement rate is the lowest rate in which you would be reimbursed. When you've got $10,000 in medical bills and there's a hospital lien out there and they're saying we'll pay you $2,000, so you get to pay $8,000 for the benefit of somebody else injuring you. What? What are they talking about? I mean, it defies all logic. And then they blame it on us trial lawyers. I'm so sick of it. Like, you can tell I'm fed up with it. I've been doing this for years.
Oh, I hear your passion.
We are the good guys helping people. Why would you take money from the state of Georgia? That money goes back into taxes and everywhere else that we get from shareholders in Northbrook, Illinois. You've got to be kidding me. And that's a governor who's decided that that's a smart thing? It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's terrible-minded. It's bad for Georgians. It's bad for business. And it's not something that in any way helps. Most of the time, I am having conversations with people there are not adequate limits for what you've been through. I had a child, 3 years old, $50,000 in medical coverage. That child will be brain injured for the rest of their life. They will be a ward of the state. They were going to go on Medicare. The parents are trying to do anything that they can to make ends meet. And they're saying that we are greedy trial lawyers. I didn't even take a fee on that case. I just made sure that I got the money in the right way and made sure that they got all of their money. It's people die. There's a $25,000 insurance policy. That, you know what? We need tort reform. We need to raise the limits, and we need to make sure that people are being adequately compensated. That would be the fair thing to do. And that's what people should focus on. And
God,
I'm going to give
this last question in.
Yeah,
I promised. This is hurricane season, and you don't necessarily think about Georgia when it comes to hurricanes, but you do get your share of weather. I had someone ask, do you cover damages that insurance companies don't want to pay, say, for example, for a hurricane?
So that can get very interesting. For a hurricane, yes, there's going to be diminished value. There's going to be arguments regarding whether or not it was flooding, was it wind damage, was it certain things. So there could be coverage issues because many times flooding isn't going to be covered,
right?
Because that's going to fall under a federal insurance plan. So private insurers typically don't cover a lot of flooding. So you got to prove wind damage. So, for example, when Katrina came through years and years ago, there were tons of claims, and then there were allegations of fraud, and there was all this stuff going on. But yes, I mean, weather-related claims we certainly handle. I try to stick more towards injury itself, personal, that you've been physically harmed. But there are cases in the state of Georgia where if there has been water intrusion in your home or in your business that you own, that it can diminish the value of the claim or diminish the value of the property, because now, a buyer would come through and say, hey, I'm concerned there's been a leak, there's been this. Just like you do if your car's been wrecked, that can diminish the value of your vehicle when you go to resell it. So we certainly look at that and advise upon that. And if, I know there is a group right now and God, my heart goes out to the residents of Maui and the forest, the fires and the things that are going on there. I know that there's a group that is actively pursuing those. I'm pretty far removed from Maui, although I have been to Lahaina and spent time there years and years ago, and it's beautiful. And my heart goes out to those people and in the process, the lives lost and them to rebuild. What a beautiful community it is.
Well, today's show and all of our shows are brought to you by the Henningsen Injury Attorneys. You can reach them at 404-8 835-4935. And we are so lucky to have Todd's firm, as you can tell, as our main sponsor of the show. Todd, what is your website?
It is Atlanta, Atlanta, P as in Paul, I as in Igloo, attorney.com.
Well, you know what? We love having you on the show. And this is our first day that we reach out throughout Georgia. And again, I want to thank you. And Todd will be back with us again in 2 weeks, talking about more personal injury. Todd, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
If anybody has questions, send them to you, Steve-O. I'll be happy to answer them.
You got it, bud. Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you.
We're going to go to a break. We'll come right back with Dr. Eldred Taylor. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. Today's show is brought to you by attorney Todd Hensington, and he is an incredible personal injury attorney. This next guest, who's now been with us well over a year, who we get more, I guess, emails, and because Dr. Taylor is, I've learned, he's probably, when it comes to weight loss, hormone replacement, anti-aging, Dr. Taylor is the best. He is a local MD, and I don't even think I've discussed with him yet that we're now going to be covering all of Georgia. So it doesn't matter what part of Georgia you're in. Now we have telemedicine, and Dr. Taylor can, especially if you have a weight problem, and Dr. Taylor can do your history and physical right over the internet. Let me welcome the man, the one who gets, of all of our markets, gets the most letters, Dr. Eldred Taylor. Hi, Dr. Taylor. Oh, yeah, I think he's probably on.
Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, there you are. Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah. I didn't want to.
So, Dr. Taylor, we're now throughout Georgia. So we're going to start getting people contacting us from Georgia. And what you do, it doesn't matter where someone lives. Today,
yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, no, yeah. With telemedicine, yeah, I can connect with people, all over.
Dr. Taylor, I think you have one of the most incredible stories because you went to one of the finest medical schools. You start off as an OBGYN doctor, and you just changed. You did research, and you have built up a practice that everybody is learning so much from you. I call it anti-aging. You call it weight loss. There's so many different areas, but it comes down to functional medicine. Tell people about your background and your practice.
Well, I went to Emory Medical School. I'm from Nashville, went to Vanderbilt, came to Emory Medical School, did a residency in obstetrics and gynecology. And then I practiced obstetrics and gynecology just like every other obstetrician gynecologist for about 10, 12 years. And what really made me change is that when my wife started having issues that were hormonal in nature, and I really didn't know that was what it was. But anyway, I was treating her like I treated the other patients, give her birth control pills and whatever, and it wasn't really helping. So then I actually had a patient who asked me about bioidentical hormones. And at that time, I didn't even know what that was. That's not something we even identified in our.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. But bioidentical hormones are just meaning hormones that are naturally made in the body, which now just makes perfect sense. Why would I use something else? The only reason I was using something else is because the pharmaceutical industry, which controls a lot of medical education, that's what they wanted me to learn, and that's what I learned. So anyway, to make a long story short, yeah, I did my own research. I started to really understand how hormones work physiologically, means how they work in the body and not how drugs work on the hormones in the body. And that like changed my whole career. Also, what I learned and what changed my career is to learn that you measure hormones in the saliva and not in blood, because we never measured hormones because the blood didn't tell us anything. If you were premenopausal, the hormones always were normal. If you're postmenopausal, they were always low. But when we were given every woman estrogen, that's when we found out that there's problems with that. People get breast cancer, whatever. So you have to treat everybody like an individual, and you do that by looking at their hormones in saliva.
So there's not a cookie cutter way when it comes to hormones, and it makes so much sense, Dr. Taylor. Most of the doctors out there are measuring blood, but you measure it by saliva, which gives you a much clearer picture.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, what's in the blood? I kind of, to make it plain, what's in the blood is hormones is being carried around by the FedEx truck. Okay, so you can have 10 FedEx trucks on the highway, and you say, oh, okay, so there's 10 FedEx trucks carrying estrogen. Well, the problem is you don't know how many packages are in the FedEx truck, and you don't know how many packages are going to be dropped off in the breast, in the uterus, in the whatever tissue. So it doesn't matter how many packages are in the truck. The only thing you care about is how many packages are in your home that you can use for whatever purpose. So the saliva gland is one of the places where packages are dropped off, hormone packages are dropped off. So if you know that the normal amount of packages are in the saliva gland, you can assume that the normal amount is in other places. So that's the difference. The blood is it's a highway system. It's to bring hormones or any other substance from one place to the other. But it doesn't matter how many cars on the highway. It matters how many people are getting to the place where they're supposed to go. So that's kind of the difference. And so you can have 10 FedEx trucks. You say, oh, estrogen is normal. But if one person is getting 15 packages dropped off and the other person is getting 5 packages dropped off, the effect of those hormones are totally different, no matter how many FedEx trucks are in the bloodstream. I hope you followed my analogy, but that's kind of how you have to look at it.
Yeah, I think about being logical too. So if you walked in to a GNC and said, I want to lose weight, they don't do a history and physical on you. They just give you a pill that they say is going to burn fat, make you lose weight. Whereas what you do is find out why you're gaining weight. Why?
Exactly.
Because everybody's body is not the same.
Yeah. And I had a patient yesterday. She told me, she had perfect control of her weight. She exercised, she diet, she did everything. She said all of a sudden when she was about 38, everything went crazy. Her menstrual cycles went crazy. She started having hot flashes. Her weight started going up. But then she said, 2 years ago when her mother died, then it really got out of control. So I explained to her is that one, her estrogen and progesterone were out of whack for those first 5 or 6 years. But then when your mother passed away, and then she's also taking care, her mother had Alzheimer's and dementia, and then her father, who's still living, has Alzheimer's and dementia. So she's and she's the one caretaker. So I said, you are, and I told her, I said, we've written 2 books. One is Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? The other one is The Stress Connection, because we learned in time that just fixing those female hormones won't answer, it won't solve the problem. To look at cortisol and stress. And so she was a perfect example of, what we're talking about.
I wanted to get into peptides today.
Yeah.
What are peptides?
Okay, so peptides, they're just a short chain of amino acids. Amino acids, so a protein is a long chain of amino acids. A peptide is a small chain of amino acids. But what they can do is that they can affect hormones in your body. They can affect DNA. We're learning a lot about them, and they're very powerful. I think last week we talked about semaglutide, which is also a peptide. It's a glucagon-like peptide, and it can help with weight loss. But there's a lot of other peptides out there, and there are a few that I really use in my office. And some of them are very, very potent. But that's what a peptide is. So they're really not a drug. They're these chains of amino acids that can affect all types of body systems. There's peptides that increase growth hormone. There's peptides that increase brain function. There's peptides that increase telomeres, which I believe the longer your telomeres are on your DNA, the longer you'll live. There's one called cerebrolysin that we use a lot for dementia and Alzheimer's or any kind of brain injury. There's one called PT141 that works for erectile dysfunction. It works very well for mild to moderate cases of erectile dysfunction. So this is a kind of a blossoming part of medicine that people are using peptides. Most of these are either IV or you give yourself a subcutaneous injection, kind of like with an insulin needle. And they're relatively inexpensive also.
I think we lost Dr. Here he is.
Oh, you lost me? Where did
we got you back. We just got you back.
So what part did you miss?
We just lost the last sentence. That's it.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So but peptides are they're being talked a lot about in medicine now, especially in functional medicine, because they're relatively safe. They don't, they're not like a drug where they're giving you something that actually just increases the natural functioning of different systems in the body.
And what does that have to do with weight control?
Okay, well, we talked about semaglutide last time, but there are several ones that increase growth hormone, HGH. And HGH has been shown to help with weight loss. It helps to repair tissue. There's one called sermorelin that increases growth hormone. There's ipamorelin. There's about 4 or 5 that increase human growth hormone. So it helps with any kind of tissue repair. It helps with weight loss. Actually, growth hormone can help stimulate some testosterone production, so it can increase muscle mass. So that's where it tie into weight loss. There's also peptides called testosterone that increases testosterone, which can increase muscle mass and decrease fat mass. And then there's also one called CPJ 151. There's so many of them, and some of them have these little chemical names, but they've been shown to decrease body fat, decrease visceral fat. So this is an up and coming. I'll tell you, a lot of this research was actually done in Russia back 20, 30 years ago, and now is becoming more available worldwide.
Are there any side effects, Dr.?
Well, you can always abuse anything. Okay. So you can take too much of the Sermorelin and increased growth hormone too much, or you really don't need it. So you can abuse anything. But generally, there are no adverse side effects. I'm trying to think cerebral. There are really no adverse side effects because, again, you're just using amino acids. It's not really a drug. These are these chains of amino acids that the body recognizes, and it turns on systems that may be failing or starting to decline in their ability to do what they're supposed to do. So the peptides are kind of like putting a little defibrillator on it and shocking it into functioning fully again.
What are some most popular peptides?
Well, I'll tell you the growth hormone peptides are probably the most popular. You'll see a lot of these bodybuilders and athletes. They'll take these peptides because, if you're a competitive athlete, I think they take these peptides to increase or decrease recovery time. And to, because if they have small injuries or whatever, the growth hormone peptides like Sermorelin and Ipamorelin, those will help them to heal quicker. And then there's another one that's very popular. It's called BPC 157. It's body protection component or whatever, BPC 157. And it has been shown to increase healing of any type of soft tissue, any type of ligament, guys with shoulder problems, knee, any kind of tissue. It helps to rebuild it. And you can even take it orally, and it helps to rebuild the GI system. People who have leaky gut and whatever. So it's an inexpensive peptide. It may cost $40 or so, $50. But it has been shown to increase the ability of the body to heal itself. One that we use a lot in our office is cerebrolysin. I've seen amazing things with cerebrolysin. Older people who were in hospice, give them cerebrolysin. After a few weeks to a month, they are talking again. They can start to remember things again, come out of hospice. We have one patient, she's actually in New Orleans. Her daughter sees me, but we send her the cerebrolysin. She was put in hospice maybe 6 months ago. She got out like 2 months after we started treating her. She's doing fine. We use it for any kind of brain injury. It's a traumatic brain injury, whether somebody's had a stroke, dementia, Alzheimer's. You give several doses IV, and then you can maintain it by giving IM injections of cerebrolysin like 2 to 3 times a week, and seeing amazing things with that. The other one that we use that's pretty popular is the PT141 or bremelanotide. It helps with ED, and it also helps with women to increase their libido. The great thing about the PT141 is that it's an injection that you give yourself subcutaneous. You don't have to, give an injection in the penis or anything. Just you can give it subcutaneously anywhere. You need to inject yourself 4 to 6 hours before you plan on having sexual activity. However, that one injection lasts for 72 hours. So if you've got a great a weekend vacation or whatever, Friday morning you do the injection. It should last Friday night, Saturday night, and even Sunday night. And then if you may have a midweek rendezvous, you give yourself an injection on Monday or Tuesday. It lasts Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or either to Thursday. So just those 2 injections could cover you, and it doesn't have the side effects of Viagra or Cialis. And you'll find that it can work when Viagra and Cialis, they don't work. The reason why Viagra and Cialis are mainly focused on blood flow. But the other part of an erection is your nervous system. You have your parasympathetic nervous system, which is what we call your rest and digest system. And then you have your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. So for a man or either a woman to have an erection or to feel relaxed enough, your parasympathetic nervous system has to be fully functioning. And that's why men get performance anxiety. You're so worried, we're going to have sex, and then nothing happens because your sympathetic nervous system has made you so anxious. Your parasympathetic nervous system can't allow those blood vessels to relax and let blood flow in. So you could have perfect blood vessels, but if your nervous system isn't where it should be, you still won't have an erection. So the PT-141 stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system to allow those muscles around the blood vessels to relax, to open up, to let blood flow go in. And it also with women, because women have to be relaxed in order to want to have sex. The vaginal walls have to relax. So the PT-141 seems to help both with women and in men. And that's always been an issue, is how do we increase a woman's libido? And I think PT-141 works better than giving women testosterone. I haven't really seen that to be very effective in a lot of women.
Are these products? Because most people don't know that your wife, who's also an MD, has a supplement business. Are these supplements you carry also in your store?
The PT-141 I carry in my store. The one for the erectile dysfunction, that's in my store. The cerebrolysin, because it's IV or whatever, I don't have that. The BP-157, I don't actually have it in my store, but I do provide it for patients when they come into the office. But the PT-141 is the one that you can purchase at Taylor MD Formulations.
Dr. Taylor, tell me the types of patients you like to see.
Overall types of patients I like to see?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Not just peptides, just whatever. Yeah. Right. Well, I like to see patients who have gone through the traditional medical system and dissatisfied. And a lot of times the reason why that is that doctors are trained to identify treat diseases. Okay, and it's certain criteria to have a disease. So if you don't meet that criteria, even though you may have all these symptoms and you don't meet the criteria to have a disease, a lot of times doctors don't know what to do. So most of the time that means you have a functional problem. That means something is not functioning well. Your hormones, your sexual function, whatever. Your brain you have brain fog. You go to a doctor, they're going to do an MRI and say you don't have a brain tumor. Well, that's fine, but I'm having foggy thinking. So anyway, I like to see patients who are pretty much frustrated that the traditional medical system hasn't been able to solve their problem. And most of the time that means that they have a functional medicine problem that I can help them with, because I don't want to miss a serious problem. So I like for them to have been not diagnosed with anything that traditional medicine needs to take care of. So that's probably the best patient. Or if it's some patient who really doesn't, if it's a 50-year-old woman with hot flashes, she doesn't, I don't require her to go and make sure, she doesn't have some type of neurologic problem. That's pretty simple. But
hey, Dr. Taylor, we've run out of time. Give everybody how they can reach you and set up an appointment with you.
Yeah, my website is taylormedicalgroup.net. taylormedicalgroup.net. That's the best way you can book an appointment. There's a lot of information on that website. And then the other way you can do it is through, you can call us at 678-443-4000, 678-443-4000.
We love having you on the show. Dr. Taylor will be back with us again in 2 weeks. Okay. Dr. Taylor, have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
That's Dr. Eldred Taylor. His shows go by so fast. And we got to get out of here. We'll be back with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Everybody have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.